Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
What's up, Levi?
What's up, Jen?
There it is. You know what's up? The sky.
Well, we got quesadillas again before recording.
Yeah.
But that's old news.
They are in my belly.
Correct. And Jen ate all of her quesadilla.
Most of all of the quesadilla.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like telling a 3-year-old, you ate all your dinner!
For Jen, that's an accomplishment.
I was very hungry today. But, you have like a smoothie for lunch, right? And you think, if I put all of the individual ingredients of the smoothie out on a plate and someone was like, eat all of this, I'd be like, no, that's so much food. Because you got like half a cup of oat milk, you got half a cup of yogurt, a whole ass banana, a fistful of spinach, half a fistful of peaches, a smattering of strawberries, and a whole like cup of blueberries. And if you put that shit on a plate, that's too much food. But you drink it in a smoothie, an hour later, you're starving.
Oh, that's because the blender pre-digests it for you.
I guess.
Yeah.
Just in one orifice and out the
Hey,
other.
Jen, how about you make a smoothie in your mouth?
Gross. Ew. So I make like I take like a fat spinach leaf, and then I put a little dollop of yogurt, and then a blueberry, and then a slice of banana, and then a slice of strawberry, and then a slice of peach, and then I just put it in my mouth.
That
I chew on
sounds
it.
pretty good, actually. And yes, do that.
That's stupid.
And it'd be more filling. I guarantee it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That would take like an hour. God.
Life's so hard.
It really is, man.
Okay, so today we are talking about some more Heavensward MSQ. We are playing through the Falcon's Nest first little bit.
The first little bit.
Well, that is to say, all of the first run into Falcon's Nest. Not like 2 steps, then we're out.
Yeah, we run around Falcon's Nest, and go back to Ishgard.
And Kurthus Western, obviously.
Obviously. So, the first MSQ step you get after doing your tour around Ishgard.
Let's give our lead in, shall we, Jen, before we blow too much pod.
No, this is infrastructural. This is just like
fine.
You get one of those branching off MSQ quests, which is like the new hotness. So you've got. Did they do that in ARR?
No.
Okay. So this is like, you go with this guy, or you can go with this guy. And it doesn't matter, you just gotta pick one. So today, we're following Artoirel. But anyway. So
again, spoilers.
Whatever, we're in House Fortemps. We're in Manor Fortemps, and...
Hey, Jen, why are we in Manor Fortemps?
Because we are a ward of said house.
And what happened last time after we became wards?
Absolutely was going to try to skirt that.
You think I'm going to fall for that nonsense?
Honestly, not much. We arrived in Ishgard for the first time, the first foreigners to hit beyond the gates in, who knows how many decades. And we are taken to Manor Fortemps, and we're introduced to Count Edmont, who has basically adopted us, and we're like, thanks, dude. We will be on our best behavior. And we just take a tour of Ishgard. We learn about some buildings, and we get all of our aetherites checked out. We leave Tataru in a bar because she's like, I'm good.
Incidentally, Jen, if you go back and talk to her, she apparently takes up a job as a waitress.
Of course she does.
But she's like, don't worry, I'm putting all my income towards the scions. I'm not keeping any for myself. And I'm like, you can make an income.
It's your job.
Right. Like, you don't
We're
have
fine.
to make your minimum wage pay and put it into the scions bank.
She bleeds scion.
She does, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so we leave her at the bar and we go back to the manor, and that is where we are now.
Nice. Thank you, Jen. So we're in the manor, and Count Edmont is waiting for us with the 2 younger Elazin that we saw earlier, And there's also a little itty-bitty red-haired Elzen in the back.
He is itty-bitty.
If we chat with them before we talk to Edmont, the older Elzen, Artoirel, is cold and formal. Jen gave me a thumbs up because I prepped that pronunciation with her ahead of time.
Nailed it.
He goes all, "Good day. I hope the city was pleasant." Artoirel is Edmont's oldest son. He looks like a younger version of his father, stern features, thick, long, dark hair, formal demeanor.
Indeed. Liked him immediately.
The medium Elzen gives us a sniff. Is that? Aye, it is the smell of mead, newly come and already sampling the delights of our taverns. Oh yes, I like you. I like you a lot.
Such an edgelord, this kid.
Emanalain is Edmont's younger son and fits the part. He has much softer features and acts very much to me like a younger sibling.
Totally.
Nice.
Also
And
liked him immediately. He's insufferable, but I like the kid.
like me, to Jen.
You're not wrong.
While we're on Sun Chat, let's not forget that Orshifon is Edmont's bastard son. He was raised alongside the full sons of House Fortemps to the dismay of Edmont's late wife. He and Artoirel have a bit of friction between them.
I mean, yeah, that's a difficult position.
Finally, in the back, there's the little guy, Honoroit.
Honorwa.
Or Honoroit.
That's fucking impossible. Honorwa. Honorwa. You want to do like honor?
Anyway, Jen, we're giving him far too much attention because he wants none attention. If we talk to him, he goes, pray, do not concern yourself with me, sir. We comply.
Okay.
And we now go back to Edmont.
Here we go. All right. So, the devastation from the recent attacks. This is, yeah. So, Alfino kind of recounts what we saw. And so, the devastation from the recent attacks is clear in Foundation. You know, bits are falling off, statues are chunked out. And Count Edmont admits that they suffered great losses. And able-bodied men and women are in short supply. So Alfino volunteers our assistance for whatever they might need, and the Count says that while we are guests in his home without any obligation, they are grateful for any help. And he's heard that Alfino is a very smart and persuasive kid. Boy howdy. And he could help his boys, Artoirel and Emanalain, in their duties to secure supplies and work on contracts and shit like that. So Artoirel immediately he bristles at the idea. He says that in the most passive aggressive rich guy way, saying an honored guest should not be helping with my duties. And Emanalain, the younger of the two, is like, bro, why wouldn't you let a famous hero do your work for you? And Count Edmont turns to his sons.
I would say, sorry, that Artoirel is a bit more rude than that, Jen.
Well, I mean, he's saying the words that, again, it's passive aggressive.
Well, I think it's more aggressive because the quote is, "I beg your pardon," after Edmont assigns him our help. Mm-hmm. "I am more than capable of carrying out the duty by myself." Yeah,
they're both not great.
But anyway,
right
so
then,
please...
no, that's fair context. But Count Edmont turns to them both, and he's like, "Shut your fucking faces."
I think I interrupted you during Emanalain's response, Jen, which is that... Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
He's like, what manner of fool would say no when a famous hero offered to do his work?
Yeah. Well, that kind of... Yeah. So they're both struggling in their own unique ways.
Edmont is not happy about this.
Oh, God. He's like, both of you shut your fucking mouths. And he tells them to treat us with the respect that we deserve. We slew Gaius Van Belzar and half a dozen primals. And we, the Warrior of Light, we are not interested in stealing their glory or serving as their errand girl or boy. Damn straight. So Edmonts, so he's, we're going to help the kids regardless of their protestations. Count Edmont leaves. Well, everybody leaves. And Alfino was like, Edmont's initial reluctance, it really was just for show. He's really happy for the opportunity to get us into some kind of task. And so that we can prove to the people of Ishgard that we are like who we say we are. Because he's taken a huge risk, like politically, socially, in letting us stay with him. So if we can like get, hit the ground and prove to people that we're chill and we're good, that'll make his life a lot easier. But he's too well bred to say that. Anyway, but it's like lords talking to lords. It's nothing but subtext. And Alfino, being a lordling himself, can pick that right up. But either way, this is a great idea because obviously we're going to be making contacts and possibly allies, and this will help us further our own agenda as well. Like, this is all great.
Today, we are going to spend our time with Artoirel. Right, Jen?
Right, Jen. I see what you're doing. Okay. So, typically, let's pull back the curtain a bit, shall we? Levi is typically the one that tells me when, kind of like what the scope of our next recording is going to encompass.
Only because I do it first.
Right, because we got to find like a pretty, like a nice ending point. So he'll do it and he'll be like, all right, so, cut it off after this quest, then that should be good. So he did that, and he was like, all right, this is great. You just finish up the loop with Artoirel, go back to Ishgard, and then we're good. And I'm like, great. But at that point, I hadn't started this segment at all, so I didn't know that this is a fork quest where you're given two options, and you got to pick one and then do the other, and it's basically, and then they will converge back onto the single path of the MSQ. So when I got to this point, the first dude I see in the room is Amanalain, and I'm like, well, I'll do his quest first, and I'll finish off with Artoirel, because that's what Levi said, right? You finish out the loop with Artoirel and head back to Ishgard. So I'm like, that means I have to do him last. 2 hours into Amanalain, I realize what he had meant, because some shit goes down on that quest path that I'm like, oh, I'm not meant to see this yet. And of course, it was like 2 hours in, and I'm like, bro, I think I did this whole quest leg that I wasn't supposed to do. And he's like, yep. So now it's done for whenever we do Amanalain. But that was a lot of time today. Shouldn't have taken as long as it did.
A lot of time front-loaded. Anyway, so today we are going to spend our time with Artoirel, and he requests that we begin anew. You will forgive me my outburst. I hope. I meant no disrespect. I merely consider myself equal to the duties entrusted to me, unlike some. Horsefon has spoken of you often. If you are even half the man he claims, I shall be glad to have you at my side. But to the matter at hand, we will be assisting my esteemed compatriots of houses Durandare and Zamail. And you are aware of our friendly rivalry, I take it?
Quote unquote.
Yes. Suffice to say, the prospect of assisting said houses does not fill me with joy. But to business, we will be traveling to Falcon's Nest by flying on the backs of one of Ishgard's black chocobos.
Fancy.
But Jen, before we head for the stables, there are a handful of side quests that pop up in the city.
What city?
Ishgard.
Oh, great. Good for them.
The place we are right now.
I see. So we're on our way to the Chocobo stables, but we are interrupted by some new side quests.
Sure. If you want to phrase it that way.
Some of us are, anyway.
Some of us disregard those side quests.
Yeah.
I will mention a few of these side quests because they are important contextual information.
Very nice.
One of them has us passing out invitations to a Fortemps hosted banquet to the other high houses. Each of the guards that receives our invitation talks about the frictions between the houses, and they pretty much say, I don't think our master will give Fortemps the time of day, but I'll let them decide. ...
Yeah. As in, no one's coming to your shit. These are the social consequences I was talking about.
Another side quest has us delivering mead from the Forgotten Knight to a fallen family. The lady of their house was accused of being a heretic, and her husband, her son, and the servants of the house have all been disgraced by association.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
That's fucked up.
Agree.
Do not like.
Finally, we can spend some time in the broom, passing out firewood to the people who are homeless and freezing down there. But we get fleeced by a girl who's all, I know everyone here. Just give me the wood and I'll pass it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we later find out that she's a known thief.
You gotta be scrappy down there.
Yes, and we are not.
Correct. We're like, okay, that sounds really nice. Thank you. And she's like, sucker.
Yep, precisely.
Yeah.
Errand's done. We now head for those stables and make our way to Curthis Western Highlands.
To the frozen wastes of the Western Highlands, once verdant tracts made pallid by the calamity, beyond the towering wall of ice, to lands long forsaken that the knights of Ishgard strove tirelessly to reclaim, to the hamlet of Falcon's Nest. Once abandoned, now freed of its pall of snow and ash, he came.
The Western Highlands were once a fertile floodplain, full of life and excellent for grazing. But the cold brought by the calamity has taken all that. Now it is a frozen waste. Those that lived here once were forced to retreat, abandoning their homes. But now, the former hamlet of Falcon's Nest is gaining new life as a fortress. It is still being built out as a foothold in the war against the Dravanians. The side quests that we can find here help to flesh out the story. One in particular is from a former resident who welcomes our aid in recovering artifacts from the old Highlands. He is rather cynical about its rebirth. He notes that the current interest in Falcon's Nest has nothing to do with restoring the home of its former inhabitants. Rather, it's a purely military endeavor directed by the Holy See.
Yep. It's basically, we're going to take back this land and flush out all the heretics. Yep.
After we arrive, we check in with Artoirel, who is meeting with the local commander, Redwald. Sir
Redwald of House Durandare. And despite the warnings that these two houses don't really get along, these two guys are real friendly with one another. Very nice. Redwald, he has a very unique face model. He's an older Huron man, Midlander, but he has some lines in his face and some tanning. It's really nice. But he's a cool dude. So, like Levi said, the Holy See has ordered that Falcon's Nest be restored, and the heretics who have wandered the Western Highlands freely since the calamity be driven out. And our task is to protect and provide assistance to the craftsmen working on the restoration.
So we get going first on some side quest main quests.
Yeah.
Not a complaint. It's just the calm before the storm.
Right.
We get lulled into a false sense of security. First, we fight some ice sprites that are making the fortress freeze over.
Like it's going to freeze over, but the ice sprites are making it freeze over too fast.
Yep. Then we head north out of the base, coming across Tiermont.
Yeah.
Great. Who is working to restore a statue of Haldrath, the first Azure Dragoon.
This is a huge ass statue.
A huge ass.
Yeah, and Tiermont.
Statue.
Correct. Ass statue. Tiermont is literally like the only dude working on this thing. So Roth, our foreman back at Falcon's Nest, he's like, it's one man. He probably needs some help. And this is true. we go out and he's like, you know what I really could use right now is some bristles, which is like some kind of hide from the deep eyes that are, oh my God, when I saw the deep eyes, I'm like, look at them! Look at them all! I'm so excited! But we have to go kill 3 of them. And their hides are so coarse, they're perfect for scrubbing off the soot on the statue. So, you know.
I think it's their fur, but...
Is it? I mean, they're birds.
They're fuzzy little guys.
They're birds.
They don't have beaks. They're weird Final Fantasy XIV monsters that are mostly eye.
All right, poll. Get on, I don't know, Blue Sky or join the Discord. Are deep eyes birds or are they beasts?
Or bugs, oh.
Bats are bugs. Change my mind. Anywho, so we get that stuff, and he's like, hey, before you go back to Falcon's Nest, one of the knights who's stationed over at the anvil, she came through here. Her name is Sir...
Isidore.
She dropped this package. Can you give it back to her?
This is sad, because we go find her at like a patrol, like a guard post.
Yeah.
And we say, hey, we brought your ship back. And she's like, God damn it. I left that there on purpose because Tiamat works himself half to death and he does not take care of himself. So I left this for him, but she cannot be seen giving him anything because of propriety.
Well, she's a highborn knight and he's a lowborn laborer, essentially.
Yes.
So she was hoping that he would just be like, oh, hey, somebody left this thing, and look around. There's nobody there. Well, I guess I'll keep it, and he'll open it up, and it'll be like snacks. But, you know, I think most of us would be like, no. She dropped this. You give it back to her. So she's got to be smarter about that shit.
Yep, agree. Like, put his name on it.
Yeah. From nobody. Just mystery package. Oop, that's weird. Anyway, so then we go back to Falcon's Nest, and Sir Ridwald, there's a bit of an emergency. So they have lost contact with a reconnaissance party that they sent to Riversmeet to search for the heretics' hideaway, which is like the main point of operations for the heretics, just period. This is where they live, hide out, do their shit, plan, I don't know. Kind of a big deal. So Redwald marks the spot on our map, and Artoirel and us are going to search this particular area. This is an old camp that was abandoned shortly after the calamity, and they think it's possible that the knights took refuge there. So Artoirel first stops at a cliff overlooking the camp. It's very high up, and he's like, obviously we can't go down this way.
And I was like, I would just jump.
Yeah.
Actually.
I was going to, but I'm like, no, there's a quest marker. I gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go hold Artoirel's hand while he goes down the kiddie slope.
It's like he's trying to be nice.
We're trying to be nice.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, there's a safe path down if you go to the other side of the Black Iron Bridge, and it just like kind of ramps down, blah, blah, blah. So we follow him down that way. And we
end up on the frozen river itself, one of the 2 rivers that runs through here, and we follow the river to Camp Rivermeet.
At this point, we haven't seen any sign that the group has been through here at all, which is worrisome. But Artoirel is like, there's no footprints. Maybe they've got blown away or whatever. But we need to continue and do our due diligence just in case.
Camp Rivermeet is an abandoned pre-calamity military encampment. We can still see stuff like cannons frozen over here as it sits and accumulates snow and ice.
It's very eerie.
And here we find a wounded knight.
This was a single dude. We run up to offer assistance, and immediately we are ambushed by a trio of heretics. We take them down. And right then Artoirel runs up and he asks the knight, are there any others? Where are the others? What happened? And the knight tells him that they were caught in a freak snowstorm and they couldn't see anything. And at that point, they were all surrounded by heretics. And our knight friend was able to cut a few down, but they were quickly overwhelmed. And he ran to the camp. He could no longer recognize any of the voices around him, and he is the only survivor from that whole party. But he knows that the hideout is very close to where they were, which is a few, probably 100 yalms up north. And he encourages us to follow their tracks, like right away, because the snow is going to cover the tracks and we'll be right back where we started. And Artoirel agrees. So at this point, we need to split up. Artoirel decides, I'm going to accompany the knight back to Falcon's Nest so he can get some medical assistance. I will gather reinforcements and then meet you up north. But you need to follow these tracks right away to wherever they might be, and maybe leave some big fat tracks of your own so that we can follow you later. Obviously, this is really, really dangerous, but we don't have an option at this point. It's just the two of us.
So now begins a very interesting instance battle. This kind of takes a big chunk of the outdoor zone and makes it a separate instance, complete with wandering mobs that are not related to the upcoming action. They just act like set dressing and they kind of path around like they would in the normal outdoor zone.
It's kind of cool.
You can evade or fight them as you would normally. We start the battle and we're standing all alone in the frozen wastes. We wander for a bit and we find some footprints. We follow them until we run into a pack of heretics. We defeat them and one begins to flee. I give chase and I launch a few range attacks to drop their health further, but I didn't try to kill them.
Correct. Yeah. I was just kind of like lobbing like a range, like knife chunk.
I
But
assume
literally
that...
the dude, we're like 10 feet away from this guy and he's like, stop it. It just runs right to their headquarters.
I assume that if you try to kill him, he'll probably stop dying at like 1% health.
Correct. Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
No,
Or they made him like super tanky on purpose.
I could have killed him if I wanted to. I had him down to... It's not a flex. He's a fucking trash mob, Jen.
I mean, you're not wrong, but yeah.
I threw my spears to get him down to 5% health, but I stopped there. Either you fail the duty if you don't kill him,
right?
Or he's invulnerable at 1%.
You're going to kill him regardless, but... So we run through an opening in a dilapidated wooden fence. This is a very large structure, probably 3 stories. It's clearly a huge abandoned house. It is dilapidated. It is fucked up. There's like holes and shit. Nobody lives here. So dude runs in. We follow him. He goes down into the cellar. We follow him into the cellar. And of course it's like, well, this is where everybody's going to jump us, right? And that's exactly what happens. So they're in the middle. There's like a bunch of heretics down there.
I disagree with that account because they don't jump us. We jump them.
Right. They're in the middle of some kind of ritual, but we are outnumbered by a lot.
They have a whack-ass double dragon glowing orb altar going in here.
Whack-ass? You mean bad-ass?
I mean whack-ass,
It's
Jim.
fucking sweet. If you're in a cult, you should be grateful to have something that's that cool looking on an altar somewhere. I mean, considering what the outside of this place looked like, as soon as you start going downstairs, we've got like piles of lit candles here and there. And it's obviously like, this is where people are living. It's nice. It's nice down there. It feels fairly cozy.
You got jumped by a pile of dudes.
I got jumped, fought them all off, including our friend, the guy that led us here.
Did you beat them all off, Jen?
I did, yes.
Congrats.
Great. Everybody had a good time.
When we come down there, they yell, "What? You brought them here?" They are pissed off at our escaping.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, your friends are gonna hate you for this. This is a dumb move. Also, you're a coward.
He was scared, Jen. We are scary.
I get it. I mean, they were like, again, out in the open. They actually ambushed us, and there were like 6 or 7 of them. We kill all of his friends, and he's like, nope, bye. And he just continues to like casually jog a long ways right back to the farm. I don't know, dude. Like,
yo, bro, go die in a corner away from the base.
He was part of the contingent that patrols the perimeter of the hideaway to encounter shit just like me. And he was like, bye.
Jen, you're one of a kind.
Oh my God. Okay, so we fight all of the dudes. We kill them all. And then we are face to face with Lady Iceheart herself. And she says, "You're looking for me, I presume." I mean, no, but yes. Immediately then, Midgard Swarmer appears. And he looks at her and he says, "Ah, the child who glimpsed the truth." And Iceheart is shocked, frankly, to see Midgard Swarmer. And she tells us that, yes, she is also blessed with the echo, blessed being a strong word.
Don't skip over the part where Midgardsormr says, we, our character, cameth unto him, as didst thou. As in, both our character, the Warrior
Yes.
of Light, and
Yes.
Lady Iceheart both came to Midgardsormr.
Right. And so she was like, okay, obviously there's some connection. The two of us share this very, very unique ability. And she tells us that when she was younger, the visions that the echo gave her, they came up all of a sudden out of nowhere, and they were terrifying for her. But before she could really kind of figure out what was happening, the calamity happened. And she, and along with hundreds, maybe thousands of other people, were living in Falcon's Nest at the time, because it was a hamlet, it was a village, people fucking lived there because it was a verdant landscape. So calamity hit, the weather made it so that they had to flee, and they fled to Ishgard. But before they could reach the city, they were met by that huge wall of ice that we find in Snowcloak. And while all of them, these refugees, were looking for a way through it, there was an avalanche. Everybody died except for Iceheart. And shortly after this moment, she was found by another great worm, Hraesvelgr. And because she had the echo, she could hear him.
I was found, of course. And not by a mere dragon, but by the great worm Hraesvelgr. And it was then that I knew why I had been given this gift. For with it I heard his voice and saw the truth through his eyes. I was chosen to deliver this revelation to the people, to bring dragon and man together as they once were and should ever be.
We're still very high on the Ishgard drug, and we challenge her, saying that, the last time the Dravanians attacked Ishgard, so many innocent people lost their lives. How do you justify that? And she takes a kind of a posture of atonement here and regret, and she says that was not meant to happen. She asks us to believe her when she says that.
Interjection. I don't think that is us being high on the Ishgard propaganda that motivates that call out.
It's not so much we've succumbed to the propaganda, but it is, we've only gotten information from one side pretty much at this point.
Sure, but what she says, though, is that she was chosen to bring, quote, dragon and man together.
Yes.
And she has just orchestrated this very bloody attack.
Exactly. We're like, what is your...
The primary victims
here?
Being people who are not in the military, but
right.
the poorest and most vulnerable of Ishgard.
Correct. Children, civilians, people they're just trying to live their lives. So we challenge her on that. And that's when she's like, it actually was not supposed to happen that way. And it became a thing that it was beyond my control. And the horde, they attacked without discernment and with a tremendous amount of fury. And Midgardsormr interjects here, saying that men die and their children forget, but we are everlasting. What was then is basically how it is now for us. You couldn't possibly fathom the violation, the outrage, the fury. And Lady Iceheart, she promises somehow to make this right. She is neither saint nor savior, but just another sinner. But she will not forsake this cause. And she says, before she leaves, we can do naught else, for we are now as one. Meaning that I now kind of know what she knows. And probably hoping that with the echo in myself, that I'll see the truth as she did someday. But, and that's probably why we let her walk away, which she does.
A point of clarity being dropped in here after the fact. It's also very likely that the quote refers to her and Shiva. We don't yet know their full relationship at this time, but that could be what Isar is referring to when she says, "We are one."
We meet Artoirel and the reinforcements that he gathered back outside the farmhouse, but we basically handled everything ourselves. And he's like, "Great job. Let's go back to Sir Redwald and tell him that we're done here."
Despite her escape, both Artoirel and Redwald are overjoyed at our actions. We have single-handedly defeated every other heretic that we found. Also, they say, patting themselves on the back, this is a reminder of what can be achieved if the great houses cooperate.
La la la.
With the day one, we return to Ishgard. And back at the manor, Artoirel has a confession for us.
This is great, and it wasn't unexpected. This man is emotionally mature. At least mature enough to admit when he has moments where he isn't. So he admits, he has doubted us since the beginning. You know, rumors have a way of becoming larger and more fantastic the more that they're spread, and the rumors surrounding us in particular were bordering on just straight up unbelievable. But Orshifant, up, down, sideways, vouched for us and was adamant that everything that they had heard about us was true. And so when we found ourselves unexpectedly exiled from Ul'dah, Orshifant petitioned his father vehemently to allow us to stay with them because of all the things that he had witnessed as the commander of Camp Dragonhead. And because his father has a bit of a soft spot for Orshifant, he did listen to him and did as he asked. And he kind of goes into, you know, how growing up, you know, this is where he tells us if you didn't talk to them ahead of time, this is where he tells you that his father had one indiscretion, which resulted in his half-brother Orshifant, and their mother hated him his entire life. And even as she lay dying, she refused to acknowledge his existence. And for a long time, he kind of shared his mother's opinion. It was hard for him as the eldest son to accept this other kid, which is understandable. That's tough. So when this is still Artoirel talking about, you know, he's opening up right now. So when we were at Camp Riversmeet and we found the knight, and he knew immediately that one of us would have to follow the heretic's tracks. And I quote, "And there you were, the savior of Eorzea, an honored guest of House Fortemps, my new comrade in arms, Orshifant's dear friend. I told myself it was to be a test, but part of me hoped that you would fail. Yet you accepted the task without a word of protest, nor any sign of fear, and you duly tracked the enemy down, faced him alone, and lived to tell the tale." So Orshifant was right all along, and his doubt in our strength revealed a weakness in himself, and it's a mistake he intends to never make again. The end.
And that's where we conclude for the day. What do you think, Jen?
It was great. I enjoyed it. The Curthan Western Highlands is a spooky place. You see very sparse remnants of civil society.
It gets better, I think, the deeper in you go. There's a lot of other cool landmarks in there we have not made it to yet with our little foray.
Yeah.
But we do see when it's doing like the opening cutscene, it pans over this ship that is frozen into the ice, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's spooky. It's very clear that this whole settlement was abandoned in a matter of weeks. And it's like, I almost want to see like an artist's rendition of what this place would have looked like pre-calamity. All, you know, green and lush and flowing rivers and waterways and shipways and flowers and cliffs. You know, like it had to have been fucking stunning. But now it's a wasteland. But eerily beautiful as well. That the Black Iron Bridge is like the most gothic thing I've ever seen.
More than Ishgard.
I mean, and that's hard to do. But I enjoyed getting to know Artoirel, frankly. You know, when you first meet him, you're treated the exact way you expect, right? Of someone who is highborn. They are discreet, they are opaque, and they're passive-aggressive in a way that you can't really put your finger on. It's a skill. But he is honest and vulnerable at the very end, and I'm like, man, you and I are like, we're brothers now, okay? We're friends till the end. And I love that because because of Count Edmont, you have this idea that House Fortemps is kind of rad. Like they're the outlier in Ishgard, where they're like, they extend a hand out to the other. And of course, it makes you want to like act right so that you don't fuck up their reputation and don't take advantage of their hospitality and do them wrong. So it's like, oh God, I don't want to fuck up and ruin these people's lives because they're just lovely. But Ameneline, we'll get to him at some point.
At some point.
No, and like I think in a couple of episodes we'll get to him. A little bit of a different story with him, but still fun.
Agree with all that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, that's our first real foray into Heavensward and all that story goodness. So buckle up.
I will. Jen, why don't you buckle up for next time when we are doing the Paladin quest, the Heavensward Paladin quest.
Doing it first thing.
Second thing. Well, third thing. Yes, first job. Jen has never played the Paladin quest line before since level 50, which she did for the first time last time.
Right. I'm not a tank. I'm just not.
Well, more so, I am very excited to hear Jen's initial reaction to the level 51 to 60 Paladin quest.
Yep. Same.
Great.
I've heard great things.
Good. I hope it lives up to your expectations.
Me too.
Great.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Great.
No further commentary.
Good. Fantastic. Ausgezeichnet.
What? Okay. So, see you then, Jen.
And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. And thank you very much for not laying a filthy fucking finger on my sweet little deep eyes. I will find you. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at podreturnffxiv. Check the show notes for our Discord. You can get in there, post your clams, join us for some group runs, organize group runs of your own, literally talk about anything. Everybody's fucking awesome. Don't ask them about Muppets. Otherwise, awesome, and we would love to have you. Last but not least, our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv. For $1 a month, you get access to all the other stuff that we release, and that includes the seasonal events from 14 and our Final Fantasy XI series, Vanadiel Vansplainer. So give it a listen. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.